All right. Yep.
You got your drink, Perk? We got to get your drink in.
That's it.
That's
Yeah. Got my sip of water. Let's be clear, Hyde. It's a sip of water. It's not a drink. That comes tonight while I'm watching Hard Knocks.
it used to be that sports writers, you take your flask in the 50s.
50s. I used to listen. I used to work with a guy in San Antonio in the mid 80s who kept a whiskey bottle in his desk drawer. One of our copy editors. So
Really?
yeah.
I don't think I've ever worked with anybody who did that.
He was a throwback. That's like way old school. Like yeah, whiskey bottle in the desk drawer. Yep.
A little teaser for people listening. I'm shocked by Perk's pick this week. I'm shocked. We'll get to that soon. Okay.
We will.
A little tease.
There you go, Hyde. You're always promoting. You're always thinking. That's why I like that. You are a master promotion guy.
You got to market. I'm a terrible marketer. If I had marketed my career better, it would have, it'd be much better.
You're retired by now, right? Like living in Caymans.
Yeah.
Let's do it. An early happy Thanksgiving to our Dolphins fans out there. This is Chris Perkins, your South Florida Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist. That's Dave Hyde, your Sun Sentinel sports columnist. Sorry about that. Hey, we got a special week for you in the NFL because it features the first ever Black Friday game, a matchup between your Dolphins and the New York Jets, 3 p.m. at MetLife Stadium. But it's also special because for the second consecutive year, your Miami Dolphins are 7-3 in first place in the AFC East, had it last year by virtue of a tiebreaker over Buffalo. It's the first time the Dolphins have been 7-3 in back-to-back seasons since 2000 and 2001. Those were good times. Let's hope these are better times. Hey, as a reminder to everybody out there, you can get this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. One of the big questions this week is whether rookie running back Devon Achane will be healthy enough to play on Friday, whether he should play on Friday, and knowing that he likely won't be 100% healthy, how should the Dolphins proceed with Achane moving forward? We'll discuss that. We'll talk about the newfound balance on this Dolphins team now that we've seen Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill in action together for a few games. And we're also going to play a Dolphins version of What You're Thankful For, and we'll give you our predictions on the Dolphins-Jets game. A lot of meat on this Thanksgiving turkey. Let's dive in, baby.
I like that. I like what you did there, Perk. The meat on the turkey.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir, baby. Yes, sir. Of course, I'll be eating my turkey in Brooklyn this year, the day before the Dolphins-Jets game, but that's all right. That's all right. Hyde, we're going to see a really balanced Dolphins team on Friday. The question is this the most balanced Dolphins team since early Marino days or pre-Marino days? And if so, what does that mean in the big picture?
Well, I mean, you could say Adam Gase's 2016 was balanced. Was it great? No, but it was. They went to a power running game But yeah, to me, that this whole second half of the year was about getting balance, and now it's almost imbalanced the other way. Where look at the defense, the last few weeks has really played very well, not just shutting down. I mean, a couple bad offenses, but Kansas City was in there, and the question is now: is the offense in a little lull here, or have defenses figured out something to help stop them? So, that's sort of the question that's on the table. But the defense is, back in September, we said just give Vic Fangio a little time, and people were going a little crazy on him and the defense. And again, this will be a top 5 defense by the time you get to end of December, early January.
Yeah, and look, Hyde, this is a playmaking defense at all levels, right? When you consider at the front end, you've got the edge rushers, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. the middle, the linebackers, Jerome Baker and David Long, they're good enough. And then we know who's on the back end, right, where you've got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard and Javon Holland back there. Look, Kader Kohu in the slot, Deshaun Elliott also back there. Offensively, I wrote about this last week, a lot of stuff that you're seeing are uniquely designed defenses that have that too high safety shell look to them to prevent the explosive plays. And teams are starting to slow down this Dolphins offense a little bit. We saw them just score 20 points last week. It's going to be interesting to see what the Dolphins can do about that, Hyde. And before we go any further, we always like to welcome in our people on the chat: Roger Ullman, Judy Williams. Sorry about that. Patrick Vecchio, a few of our regulars, Osman Mondragon. Stephen Smith, welcome to everybody who's in this chat. Pete's Takes in here as usual. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So Hyde, the offense, the different looks that they're giving to this offense. Do you think this is leading to anything, anything big as far as slowing down this offense, or is each game its own individual story here?
Well, look, you look at the stats from last week, and the stats are really, threw for 322 yards, 2 touchdowns. So really, it was the turnovers. They had 3 turnovers. That's what was the mark on their day. But in general, the short yardage offense is an issue. Okay, you saw they try to screen Tyreek Hill on 4th and 1. Which you get the thinking behind it. Tyreek Hill one-on-one against anybody, I'll take that every day. But 4th and 1, that's saying we don't have power too. Right. Okay, and that to me, Mike McDaniel's done a great job of masking this offensive line, and now you got Teron Armstead back. It should be a little. Connor Williams playing well. Robert Hunt's out. That's important. But they've done a very good job all year masking an okay offensive line. And sometimes you can't mask it. And short yardage, I think that's, where do they need to improve? Where can they improve? That would be number 1 on the list, I think.
Hey, hi, we get a question from Roger Ullman here. Mostert was in for 55 plays on Sunday. Do you think he is being used too much? Will he make it to the end? I'll say this. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I think Raheem Mostert is finishing these runs with more power, that we see a lot more wow moments. I asked Mostert after the game, and he said, no, I'm doing the same thing I was doing last year. And I was thinking, no, you're not. Raheem, you were running with a lot more authority. I don't necessarily think that's detrimental. I think that's a good thing, but he's a speed back, Dave. And so if you get Achane out there, if we expect Jeff Wilson is going to be active this week. He was a healthy scratch last week. Then I'm not so worried about Mostert finishing runs so aggressively. And let's be clear, I like to see it, but from a self-preservation standpoint, you kind of wonder if Achane is there, if Jeff Wilson is there, Chris Brooks, the rookie, might be able to come back in the next 3 weeks. Then I can see, and that would help the short yardage. Then I'm not so worried about Mostert running with such a physical style. But Hyde, I would like to see him. He's second in the league in rushing right now behind Christian McCaffrey, but I would like to see him kind of preserve himself. Your thoughts on that?
Well, when I saw him run over a couple Raiders in the game, my thought was, okay, he's healthy. I mean, the question with Mostert through his career, he was a sprinter in college, and while he doesn't really look like your traditional sprinter, like his right Achane might be more that guy. The question with Mostert always been health. Because when he's been in there, his numbers are very nice. But when I see him running the way he is, that's telling me, okay, he's very healthy. It's not like he's trying to, duck out of bounds or anything. He's running into people. So where they got caught last week, and probably why they played Mostert a little more than they wanted to, was when Achane got hurt on his first carry. Yeah. Because They had Ahmed in there, but Ahmed's in there for special teams too. And probably if you're going pure running back, you would have had Jeff Wilson in there, right?
Right.
And so, it'll be interesting, some of the decisions they have to make, factoring in special teams, and who they go with there. That's sort of, I'm curious to see what they do this week.
Yeah, Ahmed was out there because of his special teams value over Jeff Wilson. And so, we'll see how that decision goes this week. We'll see what the deal is with Achane, whether we get more clarity on that. We talked to the coordinators out here today in Dolphins land. We don't get Coach Mike McDaniel, so there probably will not be an official Achane update today, but there should be one tomorrow. But that's going to influence the roster composition of the active roster for the game. Hyde, when we talk about the offensive defensive balance, we get a couple of questions here, and so let me ask you these. Patrick Becchio says, can't sleep on the Jets. They'll be extremely physical and pressure Tua. You talked about the offensive line concern. Judy Williams also says the Raiders' run defense isn't very good this season, but it seemed Mostert had very few holes to run through. He worked very hard for everything he got in that game. I'll tell you this, Judy, talking to the players after the game, Teron Armstead, Alec Ingold, who else did I talk? Kendall Lamb, they talked about how well this Raiders defense played, front to back, that they were all on a string, that it was all tied in. So that was something else that we saw from this Dolphins offense, overcoming a well-planned game plan, because they all said the Raiders were ready for everything that they did. They had to adjust on the fly. So, Dave, when you look at this team, the offense and the defense, who do you think is better equipped to adjust on the fly? I think it's got to be the defense because of all the experience, offensive line. You've got a bunch of personnel shuffling in and out. The running game is a little bit limited as far as you just have speed, like we were just saying, short yardage. But which unit do you think is more capable of flipping during a game and kind of changing what you do because of what the opponent is doing to you?
Well, look, the defense has a lot of versatility, and they have two very good cornerbacks. When you have two good cornerbacks, as Vic Fangio has talked about this, it allows you to do a lot of other things on defense where you want to move people around, because you're not worried about protecting people on the back end. So and then you throw Javon Holland in there too. So I guess if to answer the question, the defense has more options. On the other hand, you see we've seen what this offense can do. Okay. And we've seen what it can do against bad defenses and mediocre defenses. And, I'm not sold on the Jets defense. How great it is, how it's great. It's this great. Well, they got run over by Buffalo. Okay. They've got run over a few times this year. At great defense is Cleveland, where they have minimal offense and they go out and win games consistently. Okay, that's a great defense. The Jets defense plays great in stretches. It's physical. It has some great players, but I'm not slapping great on their season.
No, and I'll tell you this, Dave, before we get into our next segment, I think the biggest thing that the Jets defense has going for it this week is that it's a short week and they're at home. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we're going to get into the matchups later, but I agree. The Jets defense, they haven't been effective stopping the run at all. I think they're, 27th or something like that. So, yeah, you got to wonder about that defense. All right, Hyde, our next segment, it's Devon Achane. We were all kind of rattled last week when he goes out with a knee injury, same knee that he injured before against the New York Giants. Do you play him on Friday on a short week if he's at, say, 80%, and is there a way to preserve him until the final 3 games and the playoffs? If he's at 80% on Friday, I'm not playing him. And I know that sounds crazy because you need to win every game, but I could roll with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Savon Ahmed and Alec Ingold and see what happens and kind of gauge it. They gave Achane as much time as they needed to previously, and that's been a pattern with this Dolphins team. I wrote a column about that their prudence, their wisdom with returning injured guys, giving them as much time as possible, that's going to pay off later in the season. It is paying off, but they didn't rush Jalen Ramsey back. They're not rushing Robert Hunt back. We can go down the list. Xavier Howard, Connor Williams. Don't rush Achane back. If he's not ready, you make do. You adjust, but you need him later in the year more than you need him now. What is your approach with Achane, Hyde?
Look, they shouldn't need Achane to win this game. Okay,
right.
He shouldn't be the different. If he's healthy, of course he plays. I mean, I don't know where you go 80%, 90%. That's a medical decision. And we've seen. I think you alluded to McDaniel's erred on the side of caution, certainly this year in resting players or making sure they're healthy when they come back. So. The other thing McDaniel said in the post game on Sunday that he could have come back, but he didn't think it was fair to put him back in the game. So there's a little mystery with all these injuries, and these are situations where the team doctors and McDaniel and they have a lot more information on this stuff than we do. So, but my thought, if he's healthy, play him. If he's 90%, I got no problem playing him. But this game shouldn't come down to is he in there or is he out of there?
No, it shouldn't. But I'm holding him out. I'm going conservative with him. Pretty boy, I see in the chat. Good to talk to you. He says I'm not sold on the Jets defense. I've seen them get that work for the last 3 games. Yeah, and look, you've seen their offense even worse, right? They've scored 24 points, I think, in the last 3 games. So this Jets team, the Dolphins can't beat themselves in this game. That's a key, and we'll talk about that later. But I don't just say, well, the Dolphins it's self-inflicted stuff that can be corrected. The self-inflicted stuff keeps happening game after game. That's why I'm concerned. Let's go to the chat. Mystery Dad 73 with Achane having some knee issues. Wouldn't it be helpful just to have him sit the next couple of weeks, get him ready for the playoffs? I agree with you, Mystery Dad. Dave Hyde disagrees, but I agree with you.
I mean, when you say knee issues, I mean, look, if he's hurt, of course, don't play him. If he's healthy, play him. I mean, it's as simple as that. And they have the information on this. We don't. So, they're going to make the decision that's best for him.
Yeah, and here's another question with Achane, and nothing can be done about this, but look, he got slammed to the ground hard twice against the Texans in preseason. He got injured when Leonard Williams of the Jets fell on him. I think in this game somebody fell on him and he got injured. I mean, Hyde, is he fragile? I don't want to say that. Somebody asked me that on Twitter. I don't think he's fragile, but is he accident prone? Is he too light? Is he anything other than unfortunate at this point?
Well, at this point, he's had a few injuries. Okay,
yeah.
His rookie year hasn't gone as smoothly as anybody would have hoped. Because you saw those 4 games he was in there, the flash of what he brings. Okay, another speed component, and how McDaniel likes to use him. So, but the shoulder in preseason, and then. So he missed the start of the year. Then now we got the knee. So it's been an unfortunate season in that regard for him.
It has. And look, now we're talking about health here. Tua, we're at the point where, and we're going to get into him in the next segment. And let's give Dolphins thanks for. By the way, on the chat, send in some stuff you're thankful for this Dolphins season. That Tua's health. The Dolphins finishing with 4 out of 5 at home, the Ramsey trade. What are you thankful for this Dolphins season? But we're at the point where Tua pretty much has to go the distance, right? He's got to start all 17. I mean, I guess you could take a 3-week absence, but we're at that point, right, where Tua has showed us a lot, and we're thankful for that. He's made all 10 starts, but a multi-week injury now, that's really going to hurt you. So he pretty much has to go all 17. How do you feel about what you've seen from Tua from the health standpoint, and how do you feel about what we will see from Tua from the health standpoint?
You couldn't ask for anything more from a health standpoint, right?
Right.
All the fears, all the questions after last year, I mean, just personally having to cover that last year, and the prospect of covering the sequel this year was not something I was looking forward to. So Um, but sure, I mean, you see him protecting himself a lot more. He's not running, you know, and even then when he's getting down. So, you know, you talk about the good year he's had, but you also factor he's not going to be running at all, pretty much.
Right.
You don't want him to run because you need him healthy and you want him healthy. But that's, you know, as you move on, you play great defenses. That's a little component you don't have with Tua that you have elsewhere. But as far as his year and his health, couldn't ask for anything better.
Right, and we saw him run on Sunday. He lost the fumble, but he made the right decision because and I've got to go back and look at the video. I haven't looked at that play from the replay, but he was going for the first down. He had to go head first because, you know, when you slide, they started at the point that you start to go down. He wouldn't have made the first down, but he has been smart. He's gone down when he's needed to. He's thrown the ball away when he's needed to. And so I think that it's been an excellent year. Like you say, the best you could hope for at this point from Tua. So, yeah, it's
look, they're protecting Mike McDaniel's playing to a strength of Tua, the quick release, the quick read of the defense, the quick release, the quick receivers. I mean, all that has to be factored into Tua, and they don't want him to get hit, right? And it's been very smart and very strategic and very productive as well, for the most part, of what they've done this year.
Yeah. Hey, Hyde, real quick, before we get into our Dolphins thanks, what are you thankful for? You talked to Jimmy Johnson, and you know, Jimmy is going into the Dolphins honor roll. Very good column by you. Here's one thing that I would like to know from Jimmy. In all these passing offenses, how do you think he would combat them? Because you remember, obviously, I know you remember, Jimmy changed defenses, right? That, you know, we'll all remember that Miami-Nebraska game where Nebraska comes in with this high-powered offense and Turner Gill and Mike Rozier and Irving Fryer, and Jimmy unleashes this lightning-fast defense, and this offense can't do anything, and everybody's like, oh, my goodness, he changed the game. Would Jimmy find like two Lawrence Taylors nowadays? Like, what do you think Jimmy would do against all these passing offenses nowadays?
Well, look what he did to the Buffalo Bills with their, you know, back then no huddle attack was revolutionary, right? And they got physical with them. I mean, they you look at those Super Bowl games, they got physical, and he knew, he told the team, look, they're going to turn the ball over. Here's what. And before the first Super Bowl they played, he laid it out exactly what happened, which he said, they're going to come out and they're probably going to have a good drive, maybe two, because they've been working on things to attack us. We'll make adjustments, but stay with it because they're going to turn the ball over. That's what they do. They're loose with the ball. And that's, you know, the throwing the ball over and all that, that's what – so he would find out, okay, what's the weakness in them and attack that.
Yeah, that would be interesting against this Dolphins team, a team that does have a tendency to beat itself as they see it. So that would be interesting. All right, Hyde, go ahead.
I think Kansas City showed you too how to attack it, right? I mean, there's a few setups that have shown how they want to do it. Which is, we're going to play some deeper guys, but they'll pick their times to blitz. And they'll get physical. They'll mix it up with Tyreek Hill. And to me, I think you should. Tyreek Hill is the engine that makes everything else work in this offense. I saw there was an athletic poll today of a couple hundred players, I believe, and Tyreek was voted the third or fourth MVP of the league. And I said, okay, that sounds about right. You know, he should get consideration with the year he's having.
Yeah. I mean, Tua has 322 yards passing, 325, and Tyreek had 146 of it receiving. So yeah, and by the way, that gets into a question that we have here from Carl Hess. Compared to last season, Waddle's numbers are down. Why is that? Yeah. Is it because Hill is being fed more targets? His numbers are down. I don't know that Hill's usage is any more. I do know that they've scored on big plays more, and more players have scored on big plays. So you didn't have Achane in there last season, and Chris Brooks has had a couple of big plays. Tyreek, I think, has probably at this point had a few more big plays. I think it's spread out a little bit more, and that's what I say. But, yeah, Waddle has not been the threat that he was last year. Your thoughts on that, Dave?
Well, you saw Sunday when Tyreek went out for a series and all of a sudden Waddle had 3 catches for I forget how many yards, but the very productive drive. It was a touchdown drive, and he was so maybe there's a role that, look, if you're Tua and Tyreek's out there and you see what he can do, of course he's going to be your first option. But when he's not there, we got another pretty good option in Waddle. So I don't think Waddle's having a down year. It's just maybe his numbers aren't what people expected because Tyreek's numbers are going toward historic level.
Yeah, they are. And if I say it, Carl Hess, forgive me, Cal Hess. Banana, welcome. Hooked Up Joe, Matt Newton, everybody, welcome to the chat. All right, let's migrate over to what we're thankful for here, Hyde. Thanksgiving is coming up in a couple of days, and look, the Dolphins have a lot of things and players to be thankful for, right? Mike McDaniel, Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Ron Armstead, Robert Hunt, Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Jerome Baker.
The whole roster.
I know. I want to be fair. I want to be fair to people, Hyde. Chris Greer. What about Jason Sanders? I mean, look. It's fun to be covering and watching a winning team again. You got to be thankful for Tua's health. You got to be thankful for the defense. It looks like it's coming together. What about the schedule, finishing with 4 or 5 at home? Here's one thing that I'm thankful for, Hyde, the amazing collection of cornerbacks that we're going to see on Friday, right, with Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard for the Dolphins against the Jets, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. Those cornerback wide receiver matchups are going to be fun. I'm thankful we'll get to see that. What about you, Hyde? What are you Dolphins or sports thankful for?
I don't have a laundry list like that, Perk, but there are a couple things. One is just a general big picture. This is a fun team to watch. Okay, yeah. It's a fun and I know that because some Sundays I'll come in from watching the Dolphins and I'll turn on the game at night. And I think this is so boring, and I realize, wow, it's fun what the Dolphins have created, what McDaniel has created is a fun team. So, and trust me, the previous 2 decades, not a lot of fun to watch what was playing on the Dolphin field. So the other thing, and I put a tweet out this morning is listen to McDaniel's press conferences, which is he makes it easier to cover them. Because of it, he expounds on his thoughts. He gives his philosophy. He talks, to the edge of good strategy without giving away secrets. And in an age where a lot of NFL coaches are, and we've had it here, just look at Brian Flores. He told you nothing. Okay, right. That was the way he was raised, the Bill Belichick way. But to McDaniel, words matter to him, and his role of being a conduit to fans and telling them what's going on matters to him too. And so I'm thankful for it's much easier, much better in our jobs to cover a guy like that who gives interesting thoughts. And look, as I put in the tweet, Nick Saban was the previous guy to do that. So it isn't like Nick Saban is this friendly media guy, but he would give you snippets of who he was, what he thought of life and football. And when you're covering a team, that makes it more interesting. You want to see what makes excellence tick in our job. Right. And if they open themselves up a little, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree. I love talking to the players in the locker room. That's one of the great things about the job. And I'll say this about Mike McDaniel is that he treats every question with respect and dignity. And I've asked him stuff like, the coin toss, Mike, is there any strategy behind that? And, most coaches look at me and go, are you crazy? And I'm sure Mike McDaniel thought that, but he gave me a good, respectful, thoughtful answer. And you go into the locker room, and one thing that I found always gets the players fired up, just making small talk. Whenever Powerball gets up to $1 billion, you ask the players, are you buying tickets? Do you still buy tickets? I had Austin Jackson tell me that he wasn't, but if he won the $1.5 billion Powerball, he said, "Oh, I'd come to work the next day, but they'd have to put some respect on my name." And so it was stuff like that. And Kendall Lamb said he would go to Stephen Ross and say, "Look, I'm no longer a player. I'm a part owner of this team. I've got $1.5 billion." And so yes, you always like to see what makes these guys tick and talk to them kind of off platform and see what they say. A couple of things that people are thankful for from the chat. Pete's Takes, thankful. Love Vic Fangio. Yes. Stephen Smith, I'm thankful for no drama spilling into the Fins news. We are all thankful for that. Pretty Boy, I'm thankful that we're in first place and having one of the best seasons that we've been having in decades. So, Hyde, no drama. Oh, somebody, wait a minute. And there's a Stephen Ross one in here, too. Pete Sakes, thank you, Stephen Ross, for opening the checkbook for this defense and Vic Fangio. So, Hyde, what about that? I mean, Vic Fangio and Stephen Ross, what else are you thankful for here?
Well, I mean, with Fangio, again, the interesting thing there is that McDaniel wanted him the year before. McDaniel wanted him when he came in the door with the Dolphins. And, the Dolphins wanted to keep Josh Boyer. And so Vic Fangio was put on hold for a year. So it was never – one thing Steve Ross does is he writes checks. Yeah. He might not always write smart checks, but he's written a lot of checks and giving money and supporting, the team in that regard is something he's done. So Vic Fangio is more a Mike McDaniel and a Vic Fangio issue. I love it when Fangio came in, everybody was saying, "Why'd you come to the Dolphins? Philadelphia wanted." Right. And we overthink this a lot of times. Well, we think, is it a fit for the defense? Was it you want to live in South Florida with no taxes? Look, it's money. It's money. He got paid a lot of money. And he's 65. I mean, yep. Put yourself in, just put yourself in his shoes. He's not going to step into a bad situation, of course, but Mike McDaniel wanted him. And that was the interesting thing to me, because if Mike McDaniel struggled, who's going to be the first guy people say should take his job was Vic Fangio. Right. So right. It was a very mature coaching decision for a young coach to make, for Mike McDaniel to bring in Fangio.
Yep. And look, on the chat, Cap for Life, and I see you. We're going to get to your question in our next segment here, wondering about the thoughts on the 9 fumbles in the past 10 games. Yeah, but I'm worried about the entire turnover problem. Pete's Takes, tell us how you really feel about the offensive problems. Only because we're 7-3, I'm still concerned. This is awesome, but remember, fellas, we were 8-3 last year, and boom, the offense shrunk.
Sure.
Hyde?
Here. Let's look around the AFC right now. Tell me an offense that's not struggling. I can only think of one, Baltimore. Baltimore is putting up big numbers, and they just lost their tight end, Mark Andrews. So we'll see where that takes them. But, I mean, Kansas City isn't the Kansas City offense. In part, when you pay your quarterback, you're going to lose a Tyreek Hill, okay? But go around the league. Cincinnati, we've seen Joe Burrow's hurt. He was starting to come on, and they looked like Cincinnati's going to make a run. Buffalo's fired their offensive coordinator. Pittsburgh fired their offensive coordinator. But think of the teams, the surprising team to me of all, because I thought this would be an awful team, is Houston. And if you're building futures of where this could go, C.J. Stroud, I don't remember a rookie coming in and having the kind of year he's having in a long time. Am I going back to maybe Marino's rookie year? Am I going back that far? Maybe. So to answer are the Dolphins having some hiccups on offense? Yeah, absolutely. And they got to prove they can do it against good defenses too. But, this isn't just a Dolphins issue on offense. This is all the teams they're playing except one right now aren't putting up a lot of points.
Yeah, I think every team in the AFC is, if I can use the phrase, wonderfully flawed because it keeps everything interesting, right? So if you talk about the Kansas City offense, and look, Hyde, Baltimore cannot hold a lead late in the game, especially at home. And this is we saw what the Dolphins did to them last year, and this is
that's
right.
been a problem then, for a few years, and every Dolphin fan remembers. The only way they could have lost the game a year ago was if Tyreek Hill gets behind them a few times, and that's what's happened. So I agree with you. I'm not sold on Baltimore. I'm just saying right now, they're the only offense I look at and say, okay, they're doing the things they want to do. Every else is kind of having a hiccup right now.
Yeah. Hey, and as we wrap up what you're thankful for, here's one from Judy Williams, and let's not overlook this, especially because Judy is one of our regulars. I'm thankful we have a talented and professional team to support. I'm thankful we have a high-quality coaching staff that seems to get the most from the players. Very simple, Hyde, but we know that hasn't always been the case here with the Dolphins. So that is a very thankful thing to be thankful for. Good thing to be thankful for, I should say. Cat for life, thankful for Butch, bro. That offensive line is good, bro. Butch Berry, the offensive line coach. So that's a couple of things. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's go into the predictions here because we are kind of on a time crunch here. So it is prediction time. Who you got, Hyde? Dolphins, Jets, 3 p.m. Friday, Black Friday, first ever NFL Black Friday game. What are you thinking?
This isn't even I didn't have to think about this. I'm 23-3 Dolphins. I mean, the Jets are a team that just needs to be pushed over the edge right now. Everybody, the quarterback is the issue in the Jets publicly because that's a fun thing to talk about. Their offense is a disaster. Their offensive line's a disaster. Aaron Rodgers better not come back this year because he'll get hurt again because this offense is a disaster, okay? And it has a good defense. It's not a great defense either. It's not, again, Cleveland is the great defense. They're going out and winning games with a bad offense, and I don't see the Jets doing that lately.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, Hyde. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm taking Dolphins 24-21. A short week and a road game, I think, is just a bad combination for dominance. But the Jets have
21 per. You think the Jets are going to score 21 points?
And here's why. Because who was it early? Was it somebody was talking about the turnovers? I'm concerned about the Dolphins' turnovers. It's a -4 on the season. By the way, Kansas City is also -4. So the Dolphins, or they were going into last night. So the Dolphins and Kansas City were tied for 22nd. So, let's keep this in perspective.
Kansas City had one game where they had 5 turnovers, remember, against Denver. So, take that for what it is. But yeah, that's not a good number to be having. Is that turnover margin?
Correct. And
21 points. No.
I don't trust the Dolphins with these turnovers, Hyde. And look, I've been the only one writing about the Tua interceptions. He's now got 8 interceptions through 10 games. Last year he had 8 interceptions in 13 games. There was one, I think Robert Spillane, the linebacker, dropped a potential interception last week. So with the fumbles, this is not a Tua thing. This is a Dolphins thing. The good thing is –
the thing I always like about Tua, he's always on message. Going back to even when the coaches didn't believe in it, he was always on message about what he talks, what he thinks, how he projects himself, and he came in and said, we can't have an offense if I'm going to turn the ball over like that. But he kept repeating that. Okay, so he knows that, and if he's going to have 2 turnovers, the offense is going to have 3 a game. They're in trouble. I think this is a game, and McDaniel coached that way last week when they had the lead, and he knew that the defense wasn't going to be scored upon. He coached that way. He said, okay, I'm not going to go for it on 4th down. I'm going to punt, and you try to drive the length of the field on this defense because you haven't shown you can do it. I think it'll be the same thing against the Jets. I think they'll coach properly to win that game.
Yeah, I think so. look, here's the other thing about this Jets game is that, you know, the Jets have the worst of the short week thing, right? Because they're making a quarterback change. But I do think that their defense is good enough to take advantage of some things that the Dolphins offense might not be able to execute. The run game, I'm a little concerned about the Dolphins run game with Achane not out there. We'll see what the offensive line health is. Is Rob Hunt out there? Because the Jets do have some defensive line talent. And I want to see how the Jets defend Tyreek Hill, because, look, you keep Tyreek Hill under wraps, this Dolphins offense is going to struggle. And we've seen that. Now, last week they scored 20 points and Tyreek has 146 yards, but I think he's had 3 games under 100 yards, and I think they've lost 2 of them. So if I'm the Jets, my best hope defensively is to focus heavily on Tyreek Hill, hold him to less than 100 yards, get a couple of turnovers, and see what happens. I think that's kind of the winning formula against the Dolphins right now.
That's what they try to do. They just can't score enough points to win a game. So,
I agree.
And at some point, I think we're there, the defense is just going to throw up their hands. They did it in the Buffalo game. I mean, the other scary thing about it, if that's Buffalo's offense, you've seen Buffalo do glimpses of that offense. They gave it against the Dolphins up there. They gave it last week. If you get Buffalo on one of those days they're having those offenses, you're in trouble against them.
Yep. All right. So, look, Pete's Takes says, I'm not predicting this week. Judy Williams says, I'd be really annoyed if the Jets score 21 on Friday. Pretty boy, Dolphins 35, Jets 10. This is going to be an easy game. So, look, Pete's Takes says, Perk, if the Jets score 21, we lose. Book it, buddy. I hope all of y'all are right. I really do. Wait, Hope Bashart checks in. Let's see. I'm excited about the Dolphins defense, but I'm getting concerned about the demise of the Dolphins offense. Must find other targets besides Tyreek. Teams are figuring the scheme out. Well, I mean, you do have to diversify, but I'll say this. I think that one of the big benefits is that defense is starting to come around. When I talk turnover margin, the defense is producing turnovers, so that's going to help the turnover margin. It's not all on the offense, but you want the last word here? What
I think if the Jets get 21 points, I'm going to have to dissect how that happens, because I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. And they had to change a quarterback. The Jets had to change quarterbacks. Zach Wilson looks like he wants to go back and run a farm or something like that and get away from football. Okay. So we'll see if that energizes the Jets a little. But this is a season ready to be sunk in the Dolphins. They come out strong. The Jets crowd will turn on the Jets, and it'll be a cranberry fest post-Thanksgiving for the Dolphins. Nothing's better than the second day leftovers of Thanksgiving, right? Nothing, and that's what I'll be doing. I'll be eating leftovers, watching the game.
There we go, baby. All right, that's it. That's it for this episode. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We will see you next week, noon Tuesday, sunsentinel.com, Dolphins Deep Dive.